President Trump is breaking CNN and crushing the liberal media. In this video, we're going to take a look at how TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, has infected the Trump-obsessed media, how that infection has completely debilitated their capacity to function as a reputable news source, and how the mainstream media is losing both money and jobs like never before. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. If this is your first time here on this channel, a very warm welcome to you. We post 2 videos a day, analyze the current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so we can all live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we together celebrate the inevitable, the inexorable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Now, before we dive in here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Virtual Shield. Gang, if you're not using a VPN or virtual private network on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while browsing the internet, then you really are exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. But protecting yourself online really has just never been easier. And to make it even better, make it even sweeter, Virtual Shield is offering our audience 50% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. So don't wait. It's a limited time offer. Click on the link in the description below and sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. CNN and the mainstream Marxist media as a whole are basically falling apart as we speak. It's worse than Joe Biden, okay? Their hysterics have grown such heights that it's difficult to even conceive how anyone at this point could even remotely take them seriously. Take, for example, the studies that have been done on the media's utter obsession over President Trump. Every single day, 24/7 on the news cable channels, Cuomo, Maddow, Scarborough, Lemont, they all obsess over Trump, but of course from a viciously hateful vantage point. A number of studies have concluded that the media's coverage of Trump, again, which has been utterly obsessive, is ridiculously biased towards the negative. A Harvard study of Trump's first 100 days in office found that 80% of the coverage from the major news media were negative, and I think that's an underscore. The Media Research Center conducted a study that found it was 92% of the media's coverage of President Trump was decisively negative, which is, of course, the mirror opposite of what Obama got. He received glowing and fawning coverage from a media that, absolutely adored him. I think the mainstream Marxist media should probably be renamed the TDS media, the Trump Derangement Syndrome media. In many respects, they're worse than Stephen Colbert in terms of the vitriolic hatred of Trump. And in virtually all respects, they're funnier, right? A funeral is funnier than Colbert. And it's increasingly obvious that this Trump derangement syndrome accounts for the mass levels of hysteria that has spread throughout the mainstream media's coverage of Trump, which doesn't even boil to the surface. The hysteria is the surface, right? How else do you explain the latest obsession over whether Trump will refuse to leave office if he loses the election? This actually passes as news at a place like CNN. Or how else do you account for the utter embarrassment of the journalistic farce that came out of The Atlantic that accused Trump of belittling our military based solely on claims from anonymous sources? Sounds eerily familiar to the whole Russian collusion fabrication that the media pushed on us for over 3 years based on anonymous sources. But it's not just the absurdities that make up the surface of what the media actually believes is responsible news coverage. It's also the hysteria that lies beneath the surface. Tucker Carlson's been taking on CNN of late. Actually, he's gone full scorched earth on them with a series of spots on his program highlighting the rank hypocrisy and ideological corruption that seemingly runs rampant throughout the organization. The latest involves leaked audio of a conversation between CNN's Chris Cuomo and the now disgraced former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. On the leaked audio, we can hear Chris Cuomo actually coaching Cohen on how to do interviews on CNN with regard to his payments to Stormy Daniels. Cuomo could be heard giving advice on how to answer certain questions and how to duck others. And towards the end of the conversation, Cuomo even offered to, quote, make some calls to make sure his buddy Michael Cohen wouldn't get into any legal trouble. Well, to put it mildly, Cuomo had a different way of putting it. So here you have a major news anchor at a major news network, CNN, coaching a controversial guest on how to answer questions and how to duck others. Which, of course, means that when you watch Cohen or perhaps any other guest of note on CNN, you're not watching news, you're watching a fabrication. You're watching the end result of coordinated choreography. In other words, here's the key. You're watching what CNN wants you to see. You're seeing what CNN wants you to see. But we're seeing something else. The beauty in all of this is that with the virus we now know as TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, affecting news media personnel quite literally anywhere, the beauty is there simply has never been a time when the mainstream Marxist media's blatant left-wing bias has been more readily apparent to more people. And as a result, their level of trustworthiness has never been lower. But first, I want to invite you to sign up for our free Turley Talks email newsletter, as unfortunately big tech continues to censor conservatives, content creators. This is the foolproof way that we can always make sure we stay in touch with each other. With the Turley Talks newsletter, you get tons of free content from me. You'll get informed on all the latest happenings here. You'll be the first to know of any special deals or events, and you will never be left in the dark. So right now, just click on that link below in the pinned comments section and sign up for our free newsletter today. And let's share even more exciting things together in the rise of a new conservative age. All right, so we talked about this in our earlier video today about a significant study. It came out earlier this year. It's a Morning Consult study. It was their first ever most trusted brands poll. And what they set out to do there was to gauge the level of brand trust among some of the more famous brands like Amazon, YouTube, right, Google, Chick-fil-A, all that. And they publish their findings in a report that seeks to shed light on attitudes and sentiments in our consumer culture. It's purported to be the largest study of its kind. It had an average of nearly 17,000 interviews per brand, and they surveyed upwards of 2,000 different brands. So it's a it's an impressive study, very wide-ranging, very large poll sampling. You ready for this? The percentage of the polled public that trusts the mainstream media was just 8%. Now, of course, for me, that's 8% too many, but a devastating number for Jim Acosta and Fredo Cuomo and Rachel Maddow. And this 8% figure mirrors a previous study by the Media Insight Project that found that only 6% of Americans had confidence in the media. And so as a result, we shouldn't be surprised that the mainstream media is imploding. Gang, check this out, okay? This is a list of all the corporatist globalist media layoffs, furloughs, and closures that have been caused by the coronavirus. I mean, it's nothing short of stunning. This is a list compiled by the Poynter Institute for Media Studies. Now, this will give you an idea of just how devastating the virus has been to corporatist globalist media. And here are some of the hardest hit left-wing outlets, okay? BuzzFeed, good old BuzzFeed, right? you remember BuzzFeed, right? They're the outlet that the so-called, they reported that Trump had told the one-time lawyer Michael Cohen to lie about his paying off Stormy Daniels, right? And the Robert Mueller team, which was investigating a total and complete hoax, right? The Russian collusion hoax at the time. They actually had to issue a rare rebuke of BuzzFeed saying that that was not true. That simply didn't happen. So yes, that BuzzFeed, they're quite literally dying. They've had to cancel their morning show, the AM to DM, and they've had to lay off and furlough several staff members. And then there's good old Vice, right? The good old left-wing Vice. They're laying off staff left and right. Well, left, right? Given how liberal they are, I don't think they have a right at Vice. Vox, not Fox, Vox with a V, they've furloughed more than 100 employees. Vox is pretty ultra left wing. I mean, we could go on and on. The corporatist, globalist, the TDS media is getting decimated, okay, by this pandemic. The New York Times recently published its findings on the amount of job losses suffered by those who work in mainstream news media outlets, and according to the Times, more than 33,000 news professionals have either been furloughed, lost their jobs, or have had their pay reduced since the beginning of the economic lockdown brought about by the pandemic. Now, the important thing to understand here is that this media crisis emphatically did not begin with the COVID-19 pandemic. This has been an ongoing trend. Indeed, the British Guardian understands this. In reporting on the shutting down of over 150 Australian newsrooms since January of last year, note how they put it, the COVID-19 crisis has caused nothing less than a deepening of this media crisis. So this is a media crisis that was not originally caused by the coronavirus, but it's rather been exacerbated, worsened as a result of the pandemic, having been traced back to January 2019. A full-fledged media collapse was already well underway long before the coronavirus appeared. And on top of this, to make matters even worse, the mainstream media today is being sued like never before. The Washington Post recently settled with Nick Sandmann, one of the Covington Catholic school kids they slandered and wrote hit pieces about. CNN as well has had to settle out of court with Sandmann's attorneys. They've had their day of reckoning. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of all the lawsuits the mainstream media is getting. And we've done videos on that in the past where the right is fighting back. So all of this is to say, of all of his astonishing accomplishments, perhaps one of the most long-lasting accomplishments that President Trump has achieved was in the end the complete and total implosion of the mainstream Marxist media. The alternative media is flourishing like never before, and the mainstream media has come out as more pathetic, more hysterical, and more biased than ever. Their trust factor is at an all-time low, and their ratings are in the tank. And in many respects, we have no one more to thank for the end of the monopolistic power of the media than one Donald J. Trump. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how the Oscars get woke and go broke as Hollywood financially implodes. You're not going to want to miss that one. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.